If it's clear and yellow, you've got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town. Now, there's two exceptions, and it gets kind of tricky here.
You can stay, but I'm leaving.
Can be yellow if they're using late season apples. And of course, in Canada, the whole thing's flip-flop.
I am not gay. I have relationships with women, sex with men.
And I got news for you. That means you're gay.
What's going on, everyone? It's Nina Infinity. Welcome to my channel on this Sunday night. We're going to be reviewing The Sandman on Netflix. It's the adaptation of the Neil Gaiman comic books, the graphic novel, if you will. And tonight I have with me the awesome Literature Devil. Hello, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Doing pretty good.
Hi. I like your new icon.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a Mad Hatter. We're going to dive into the madness.
Yes, it definitely seems like a very apt icon for tonight, because I was like, what the did I just watch during this whole situation as we were going along? But for those that don't know who you are, please let everyone know who you are and where they can find you.
I'm Literature Devil on YouTube, mainly on YouTube, also on Twitter, triggering weirdos, but mainly on Twitter, mainly on YouTube, where I just go into the mechanics of writing and narrative and explain exactly why you like the stories you do, why we like stories the way we like stories, and what kind of stories are for everyone, and like what the mechanics of them are, narrative development, character development, all kinds of good things.
Excellent. And right before we started, according to Christy, sent us a super sticker of a peach, which also stands for ass, which I think is I think she's trying to tell us something about the series, but I'm not.
Sometimes a peach is just a peach.
Sometimes it's just a peach. Yeah. And you know what? In this case, I think it's ass. Not just joking. Thank you, Christy. It's good to see you. And I think Stream Elements is telling me a bunch of people just became members. So thank you. I think they're just renewing their membership. So thank you guys so much for being here, and please smash the like and share the stream. Tell everybody that we're talking about this show, because not a lot of people are talking about the show. A lot of people that I know quit after episode 5. They were like, okay, like this is I'm done. So they kind of stopped watching. I kind of felt that way too. Like it was really like a struggle for me to move on after episode 5, but I persevered. I watched it and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. It's fine. I've committed at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and watch the rest of it. And we're also waiting on George Molo, who will be joining us a little bit. He's just getting home. He's running a little late, but he will be here and he will also tell us what he thought of everything. So I guess without further ado, we're gonna go into it. Don't forget, everybody, this is a spoiler review. But before we get into all the spoilers, let's start with our kind of like backgrounds into what if we know of the world. Like Literature Devil, have you read the comics?
Oh yeah, I read the source material. And anyone watches my stream, I actually do read a lot about Neil Gaiman. I read a lot of his stories. I even read Lucifer, the spin-off series from Sandman, and all kinds of stuff.
So you're like so knowledgeable about this. I'm not at all. This was my very first experience of the Sandman. I'd never even heard of it until they basically announced that there was going to be a Sandman comic book. And then, of course, I hang out with a bunch of comic book nerds. You might know them. One of them, he used to own a comic book shop. His name's Gary. He has this little small channel called Nerdrotic.
Nerdrotic.
Yeah, he told me about it.
I think I heard of him one time before. Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of he's out there.
I saw an anime on series. Pretty cool.
Yeah. He told me. He was like, this was a comic book and blah blah blah. But he wasn't very impressed with going past episode, I think 3 for him. Or no, wait, it was 5, because it was a Jenna Coleman episode, and he was like, I'm done with this show. But yeah, it was just it's a it's a really strange kind of show, and I'm kind of glad that you're here because I'm, like I said, I'm not familiar with the source material, so it's good to have someone here who is and who can kind of chime in with knowledge about that, because the source material is very important when it comes to this kind of stuff. That kind of like how it was with when we reviewed Cowboy Bebop together, because I'm really familiar with the source material with that.
Right.
But and I thought that Netflix kind of butchered that series completely. So like let's start with that. How, in your point of view overall, do you think that they did a good job adapting the comics to the series, up to this point at least?
I think overall, on the writing scale, in general, they did pretty good. They did a pretty good job. It's just the fact that the Sandman as a series is not really what we're used to. It's just kind of weird story per story per story. Like here's
Mhm.
a story about a guy where he just meets a guy and he just doesn't want to die. He just wants to live forever. It's kind of
Right.
like that because it was a monthly style comic where Gaiman is kind of like, hey, I just need to write a story every week. It's kind of, you just made a story engine that can take place anywhere, anytime. There's no real overarching story arc, and if you want there to be one, it's really like something they touch on every once in a while. Like here's
Mm.
somebody's plotting against Dream, but here's also some random shenanigans that this has happened.
That's kind of like how I felt about the series, because I was kind of like what I felt about it overall myself was that it was a mixed bag for me. Like it was like there was certain storylines that I really, really enjoyed, especially the first episode. I thought was incredible, and I thought it was a really good episode. And then there was some episodes where I was like, "Wait, what? Like, huh?" Like, like, or like they would do certain things. I would be like, why would you do this? Or if this is like this, then why isn't this happening? For example, with Death, or who she chose to go to or who she didn't chose to go to, or certain things, I was just kind of like, I don't understand if this is like a live action thing that's missing, picking it up from the comics, or if it's just like that in the comics, kind of leaving it ambiguous for you to figure it out yourself. Like I wasn't totally sure, and I'm not sure if that's like a negative point towards the series or not. Do you know what I'm saying?
And where Death shows up.
Yeah, like for example, when Death shows up and then she's like, like I go to different people, and she, well, like she's showcasing that she goes to different people. They're going to different people with Death, or with Dream. And she's like, come, let me take you and I'll help you and we'll go. And then while I was watching that episode, I was like, well, why didn't she show up in episode 1 when the dad accidentally died, or like the Magus like accidentally died, or like why didn't she show up when the son died, like he was old and he dies and he's in his bed and she's not there. So like I was just kind of like, well, what is it about that particular character that doesn't kind of show up when she's actually needed to show up? You know what I'm saying? So why do you think Death didn't show up at all in episode 1?
That's kind of what happens in the first comic, because it was supposed to be a setup for the pigeon feeding scene, or
Mm,
because the reason why I liked so much about the meeting between Death and Dream in the pigeon eating scene was that it almost seemed like one of those instances where this immortal being meets an immortal being.
mm,
I think it was set up that way specifically and on purpose, because it looks like it really, because of not Dream, Death's personality. It just really feels like she's just a quirky goth girl who's
mhm,
like saw this guy who looks like her. This kind of like, oh, he must be also into the goth scene, and she wants to just make a move on him. And
mhm,
you as the audience, like, oh, she doesn't know who she's getting into. That guy is not a goth guy. He's Dream of the Endless that we just saw, just defeat a supervillain, defeat the devil, or a devil, a demon duke, and outwit a bunch of people. So it really feels that way. And then when he starts yelling at him, like when he starts like shouting at him, because at first they talk as if they're strangers. It really feels like they're strangers when their initial dialogue. It feels like they're strangers, and then all of a sudden she starts yelling at him, like as if she knows him. And then figures out that, oh, that's her. That's his sister. That's Death. That's the guy she
mhm,
was. That she's the one that they were trying to capture instead of him. And speaking of death, everyone's like going about the race swaps, and the race swaps are really jarring and weird. I really feel like they're forced in. But even without the race swaps for death, that's not death. That's not death at all.
What do you mean?
Her portrayal of death is every single like the one attitude they're allowed to have, women are allowed to have on like BBC. she's the one portrayal I've seen 1,000 times. I might be watching Doctor Who at this point. Like they give every woman this attitude, so it's not really. And Neil Gaiman was like, "Oh yeah, she plays death really well." No, she doesn't. Her portrayal is incredibly generic.
Wow, that's interesting because I mean, I thought about one of the things I thought about was how like not even like the necessarily the skin color, but more like the aesthetics. Like for example, like in this image, can you zoom in a little
Let's see
bit?
if we can get it a little larger here. Let me see. There we go.
There we go. There
So
we
like
go.
she's like basically Death's personality is essentially like if you have like a quirky anime goth girl. It's essentially what her personality
Right.
is, and that's like a front. That's her natural personality. But when things get serious, she can get serious. So she's like, look, she's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, utterly fantabulous word, huh? It means great, wonderful, ginchi, gnarly, peachy keen. That peachy keen, that's like an iconic image right there, where she's like really hip, chipper, and happy, and she's just there to serve you. And it really feels that way. She wants to make you feel good. In fact, Neil Gaiman said that when he thought of death, he was like, he thought of a lot of ideas for death. It's going to be like an older, grizzled man. Like, what is his death going to be? And he's like, well, he made death someone that he wanted to meet when he died. Someone there to be nice and to give him a nice smile and to make
guide them into the afterlife.
Exactly. To make the transition a lot easier.
And in a way, like it did come off as that in this series. One of the things though, like in this image specifically, like she's wearing her sunglasses, but I've seen other images of her, for example, where she's got this really iconic makeup where she's got this swirl under her eye. Do you by any chance have like another image of her like without the makeup? Because I could look it up so we can show. Oh, there it is. You know what? I got one right here.
There's a bunch of also death she goes to everybody, including herself. So every 100 years, there are 2 side stories with death specifically, because she was so popular. Well, I think one is called The Cost of Living, and one is like called Death and Dying or something like that. And every 100 years, death actually gets to live as a regular person for 1 day. And essentially, the whole universe thanks her for a job, so she can go anywhere she wants, and everything is free. Like I want a hot dog, and some guy will just give her a hot dog.
I wonder if they're gonna explore that more in the next season, because that sounds really cool.
It's really fun. Like it's really really good because the beginning is this guy, or one of them is this guy who's he wants to commit suicide, and he goes to commit suicide, and which is close to death. And by the end of the story, he has regained an affinity for life and everything through death. And she just dies. She dies at the end. Because she only lives for one day. And when she dies, death is there to meet her. So she's basically meeting herself. So she meets everybody, including herself.
Including herself, except for Magus, because she never showed up for that guy. But okay, so this is what I was talking about. Like this little swirl, like.
Right.
This is very like every picture that I've seen of her, it's there, So for me, it's like, I mean, look at this girl. That's really cool. Like
that was the inspiration for death as the model they wanted to use. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are sad because the Sandman has been around, I believe, since the 80s.
Yes.
And for like decades, people have been wanting a live action. If they have wanted a live action or a cartoon series, they wanted to see this death. And unfortunately, you could say like, oh, it doesn't really matter what they look like. That might be true for a novel, but this is a comic. Like you can't discount the visual aesthetics of a comic book because it's a large part of visual medium. So
exactly.
I mean, they got Dream right. He looks like Dream from the comic.
Yeah, he looks really similar.
He looks like Dream from the comic book. But
yeah, he does.
Suddenly it goes to death, and boom. We don't have to keep it to the comic book at all. We could totally change her up.
And not just that, that's what I'm saying. It's not even like just the skin color. It's like they didn't even do the makeup. Like they didn't even give her the swirl. They didn't do like certain things that make her that iconic character. Like that you could have at least done something with the makeup. She just seemed the only thing that she was carrying was her necklace that
She's
like
a
the
cosplayer. That's what she
yeah.
looks like. Like a
Well,
cosplayer.
even worse. I mean, like, dude, some cosplayers are freaking amazing, you know. But like, it just those are the things that kind of like threw me off about that character. And then when you're speaking of, let's say, for example, like race swaps and stuff like that, which there was a lot of. There's a lot of race swaps and some sex
There is
swaps.
so, but the thing is, it just in this because there was some good writing mixed in here.
Mhm.
All the diversity crap just felt laughable because it was like,
Yeah.
okay, well, yeah, good, nice try. But thing is, as cringy as an actor who plays Desire was in Cowboy Bebop,
Mhm.
that same actor who played Grell. This is actually a good fit for Desire.
Do you
Excellent.
think so? Okay, because I have a bit of another side to it because I thought of it like, and again, because I'm not familiar with the source material, I thought someone for Desire would be better to be someone like extremely sexy because the way that I thought of it was like kind of I don't know if you've seen Full Metal Alchemist, like when they
Lust.
do yeah, Lust. Like it's kind of like the same type of character in a way that they just want to kind of hook you and get you to love them for their physical appearance and stuff like that. So I just don't see Desire being someone that I would unless she's a shapeshifter or he's a shapeshifter. I can't like I was left wondering whether or not that lady got raped and she was like, "Oh, I had the baby while I was asleep." And I was like, "Well, did you get raped?" And then it turns out that it was Desire, but then like so did Desire
Yes,
do
Desire raped her while she was
shapeshift?
asleep. Yes.
Oh, I was
Uh,
like, "What?"
there was no, it wasn't consensual or anything. Because the comic books those were made when Neil Gaiman was like in his 20s, when he still had his balls,
Mhm.
and now and now he's in his 60s, and now everything has to be soft and smooth and submissive. So you're
But
gonna
they
get
didn't even say that though, because she was like, "I remember his golden eyes," and like the way she was talking about, like, and I have to say them, I guess, because this person goes by they them.
canonically,
Um,
yeah,
but like she, the lady was like, I remember his golden eyes, the way that he would like she was referring to that character, and that kind of signifies that she was there present and looking into the eyes of this person, or they're present looking into the eyes of this person, but not in a good way. Like, you know what I mean?
right.
Like I remember your eyes because you raped me. Not I remember your eyes because you were so desirable and I
But
and I fell in love with your golden eyes. But you could do something like that, like you could make it so that, Desire made himself so desirable that this
Desire is
person
desirable. That's kind of the realm of Desire, because they're the endless are kind of above gods. So they're different than gods. They're the
Mhm.
endless. So Desire is in the middle. In fact, Neil Gaiman, when he made the endless, he was like, okay, it was like, how was I going to make the endless? Okay, I want 7 of them, 3 women, 3 men, Desire. So you have Dream, Destiny, Destruction are the 3 guys, and then you got Delirium, and then you have Death, of course, and then you have I think Despair,
Yes.
and then you have Desire, who's like in the middle. So he wanted to have 3 guys, three women, and then Despair. I mean the Desire, and those are going to be
Mhm.
the 7 endless. That was
Right.
so Desire being androgynous and kind of like a in between sort of person was planned from the start, and the reason why is because it's desirable to everybody, like a little bit
Um,
of no, and it's, even though no one really finds Desire desirable on an aesthetic level, maybe per se.
mhm.
Desire is very charming, very like it can come in there and just ignite your wildest dreams and everything. So
But I never felt like that though. That's what I'm saying. Like as a viewer, I was like, that person doesn't do anything for me desirably. Like I wouldn't be like, "Oh, I want this person." Like for
was
me,
it
it would have to be someone like Anna de Armas or like someone extremely sexy if it's a man like Henry Cavill or someone that I would be like wanting to be like, "Oh, okay," like desire, like I don't know. It just seems that way to me personally, but I get what you're saying in
But the
terms
thing
of
is, the endless are kind of manifestations, kind of the kind of symbiotic companionship with people. So
Mhm.
Dream is like he can be anything. Like he shapeshifts, he can change. Like for example, the original Sandman story was very much within the DC universe. So
Mhm.
they cut this part out of the TV show, but in order to get one of his items back, he teams up with Scott Free to go and visit the Martian Manhunter, and Martian
Mhm.
Manhunter sees him as the Dream God from Mars. He's like, "Oh my God, it's you!" so, so they have a little bit of that when what's her name sees him while she's in hell, and he looks like an African version of Dream, like her version of Dream, the first people. So the thing is, it establishes that these people look like whatever the person who's looking at them wants them to look like, what they're familiar with. And so, on that kind of grounds, Desire is a kind of a culmination of everything put together.
In that sense, I guess that's true because this person does look like a combination of everything put
Exactly.
together.
And Desire is awful. Like Desire is pretty much evil. I mean, it's just there's like
Yeah.
nothing redeeming. That's why there's factions within the Endless, and they name them at the end. Like Dream's faction is essentially Destiny because he's more or less neutral. Death because she really loves all of them, especially Dream because she worries about him, and then Dream, and then the other faction is Delirium, Despair, and Desire. And Delirium isn't really all that bad. Despair isn't really that bad. It's mainly Desire who's the bad one. This Despair is actually a pretty interesting character. But the series, it's like here's a fat girl in like a shirt.
I died when I saw that. By the way, hi George. How
How you
are
doing?
you?
Doing well,
Glad you
doing
made it.
well.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
And by the way,
Hello.
thank you for the memberships that you just handed out like nobody's
No problem.
business. You're
No
like, okay,
problem.
here you go. Here you go. Membership for you. Membership for you. He's pulling an opera. Thank you. Thank you, George. That's
Absolute pleasure.
amazing.
Absolute pleasure.
George, we're just talking with LD here because LD's apparently, I didn't know, but he's a huge Neil Gaiman fan
Oh,
and
wow.
also a huge Sandman fan. So he's read all the comics and stuff like that.
Wonderful.
So I'm just kind of like getting to know that aspect of things before we kind of really getting into it. That's what we're talking about, Desire and that character and death and what the race swap meant, or what it came off across and things like that, just to catch you up. But just so
Yeah.
like I'm aware of what you thought of the whole thing. You watched the whole thing, right? Have you read the comics too, or?
I've read 4 of them. That's the thing that I noticed because I watched the last 2 today. Well, one of the things I noticed so I'm glad Literature Devil knows everything about this because I haven't read them all. Was Despair, because I heard you as I was coming in. It threw me off because if I remember, and correct me, Literature Devil, if I'm wrong. Is that what you want me to call you, Literature Devil, or is there a shorter? Or
Look, Dev, LD.
LD, okay, making
That's a
sure.
long name.
We met once a long time ago. Okay. So no, what I remember was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Despair, wasn't she nude? I remember her
Usually,
being,
yes.
yeah, nude, because that was the whole thing. Is Despair supposed to be like where you're completely vulnerable, nude?
Right.
That's how she presented herself.
And that's why her sigil is a hook, so that she
Right.
can hurt herself. Sometimes she gouges out her own eyes,
Right.
and this because she gets too overwhelmed with despair.
Despair. Yeah,
Oh my
it was
God.
odd. Desire is always evil.
Yeah.
by what I recall. But Desire, this one, it kind of threw me. I was like, are they trying to go for kind of like a Hollywood message? Or are they trying to combine both male and female? I couldn't get where they were going, if that's what they were doing. Did you? Do you know how?
Book, Desire usually wears like a suit.
Right.
It's just kind of like an androgynous sort of person. So it's just
Right.
always from the comic book, but it wasn't like a woke thing. It was just more like, well, this makes sense because Desire is kind of like an amalgamation of everything. And as I said before, Neil Gaiman decided to say, okay, I want to have 7: 3 women, 3 men, and Desire.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, it was Despair threw me off. There were aspects of this that I really enjoyed because a lot of people kept telling me I wouldn't enjoy it, but I was surprised. There were 2 or 3 things I actually found it after episode 6 that there were elements that I didn't like. Like I liked Dr. Destiny, but they really didn't call him out as Dr. Destiny.
They call him like D. I think because he's a DC villain.
He is.
They repurposed.
He is. And it's like I noticed that they didn't, like when he went to hell, that's kind of like where I stopped. So you could probably tell me where in the comics I stopped. I remember when Dream went to hell, it was Etrigan, the demon, who guided him, not that
the rhymer. He got promoted to rhymer anyway. But like that one demon guy, I don't know much about him. I know him from the Justice League cartoons. But it was that. I'm pretty sure that was probably like a rights thing. They probably just couldn't get that guy because he's like a DC character.
Gotcha.
That's why they had to have like Joanna Constantine instead of John Constantine.
Yeah, I didn't get that either. I'm like,
by the way.
I love Constantine. I have half of the Hellblazers, and I'm like, hey, where's John? What the hell is that?
And it was freaking Jenna Coleman, and she played like literally the same thing as she played in Doctor Who. And I was like, you're the same character. Like, you're not even different. Like, can you at least act differently? And she couldn't do that. So I thought she was the worst out of pretty much everyone. But like,
for a second there, I thought they were going to do like a surprise switch off. Like, oh, maybe it's the boyfriend that gets hooked on the Sandman sand. I was like, oh, well, that's probably not going to be the case because then they would have to put in a straight relationship, and they only put in straight relationships under duress. Like it's they can't have a straight relationship unless they really need someone to have a baby, and then they're like, okay, fine.
Or if they're like totally evil.
Exactly. Like, that's the only case in which they will have a straight relationship. Like, fine, they're straight, but the man is an asshole, and that's kind of it.
He's like abusive.
Like this feels like it was written by women specifically because usually like race takes precedence over gender, like in terms of like women. And one thing is, in this one, women took priority over being a minority because there was like, oh, the princess is getting married to a guy outside of her own, like outside of the approval of her family, and of course she's getting married to a black guy, so because everything has to be mixed race. That was oddly noticeable. Like they had to make sure that it was mixed race. If it was same race, the guy had to be evil,
right?
Someone had to be evil.
I mean, I thought I was watching the BBC for a second.
Exactly, it felt really BBC to me. And the thing is here, so this is how I know, because there's a white girl, there's a white woman who is the princess, and she's getting married to a black guy who is a quarterback. And of course, the woman can't be the one with the evil demon in her. It has to be the guy, because the guy is always evil. That's the mainstay of Sandman. The man is always evil. They're always liars and always abusers.
Sandman. I mean, even Dream, he's a bit of a dick, like at first, and he's like the main like protagonist of the series.
Fair,
he's not human. He's not
in the comics.
Yeah, he's not human. That's the I think that it's like, I think Gaiman did it really well in what I remember the comics, but on screen, I think I watched the first 3 episodes. I think my sister came in and watched with me the third one. She's like, why is he such an ass? I'm like, he's not human.
Yeah.
Number one, you see him that way, but he's not. He's an idea. He's the endless,
But you can see him like evolving and changing though. And that was one of the really cool episodes that I really enjoyed, was the one with his friend, the one that
every 100 years.
That
was
years.
Good. That was like, oh my goodness, they did that so well. I
would have loved to see more of that.
That was a good one.
I think that was probably my favorite episode, other than number 1. I think that was my favorite episode of the series, and it started like not very good for me because I didn't like the death part.
You didn't like death.
Well, I was just questioning like why she wasn't around ever. I was like, why isn't she around when he needed him? Like, why isn't she come around and save him when he was trapped? Or like, why didn't she come and see that guy, like the Magus, when he died? Or like, why didn't she see the sun? Like, I don't understand where she was. Like, I just couldn't figure out some of the stuff that was in line with what they were saying was her job. And I was like, well, where was she then? But like, there's certain things that I didn't like about that, but the episode itself, like the way it evolved to that storyline of him meeting the friend and them having that talk and being like, well, why don't I, it started off kind of like as a game between them, but it really, like, it was kind of like a science experiment, I guess. And I like the way that it evolved to showing Dream evolving and becoming a more empathetic, I can't say person, but endless, I guess, because it's not a person. But yeah, and I like that guy, like the human guy. I thought he was he was a really fascinating character, and he was white, and he was the only person that was good.
Like, at first I was like, I was surprised they left him white at first, and I remembered, oh, it's because he got into slavery. So,
Oh, that's right. There was a whole speech about like you might want to rethink being a slaver.
And then Dream, the guy who's like, I don't really care about humanity. At that point, it was like, hey, you should, like, we know. It's like we get it right, Netflix. We all know that slavery is bad.
Right.
Okay.
Virtue signal. Yeah, he's sitting there going, hey, by the way, a God who doesn't give a shit about any of you, but hey.
But you might want to rethink your situation there. Comic Chat for $2 says, what's up, Theta? Watching this show. I think it's fire. I don't know if you mean the show Sandman or this show right here, but yeah, you're watching this show.
I assume the best, so probably this show. Right?
Thank you so much, Comic Chat. Yeah, so, okay. George, overall, what did you think of the series?
I think episode 1 through 6, I was fairly well entertained and I enjoyed it. I didn't like a lot of the race swapping, but it was so negligible. I mean, meaning the story held together. The only complaint I'd have from 1 through 6 was I really wish they would have gone with Tom Ellis for Lucifer, just because I got stuck with him but that's my personal thing. I got stuck with him because he was Lucifer in Neil Gaiman's universe of the Lucifer series.
Yeah, but at the very least, Lucifer should have been a man.
Right, because especially the way he modeled him, if I recall. Didn't he model him after it was Bowie or
Bowie?
Yeah, it was Bowie.
At the very least, when they did the spin-off series Lucifer, which is also really, really good, they definitely modeled him off of a Bowie.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I didn't like. I don't know why they would pick that. They already had someone who was established, and he even crossed over, I think, into a couple of other shows with Constantine.
Possibly. I haven't seen any of the shows with Lucifer because I was like, no. I had the comics. Comics are great. Oh, you would love Lucifer comics. Lucifer comics, pristine.
Really?
Absolutely. I love them. I have I would take a picture, but I have them in the hardback copies. They cost me like a couple, like almost $150. I got them for myself for Christmas. But I love them that much. They're fantastic. Not as long as Sandman, but absolutely fantastic. I mean, Lucifer cuts off his own wings. And he needs to get him back. So he goes into the realm of the Japanese gods, completely vulnerable. He can die. He gives up all of his humanity, all of his immortality, completely naked. Goes in there. He walks out. One Japanese god dead. He's got the wings under his arms, all because he's smart and clever. Right. It's fantastic. I love it so much. I recommend reading Sandman first and then Lucifer because one came after the other. But
is Sandman over, like the comic book? Is it like over?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a long time ago.
The funny thing is, while Neil Gaiman was writing it, he did this on purpose. By the way, at least he says so in his interviews. When he was writing Sandman, along the lines are like I think his editor at the time was Karen Berger. And by the way, it's some weird stuff going on, like because Neil Gaiman started off on Black Orchid, and that's his first DC comic book, and no one's buying it. And she goes, Karen Berger goes, female characters don't sell. We're gonna put you on something else. Okay, but so they said that, oh yeah, we're gonna do the same thing with your Sandman, like we do with everything else. Once you leave the project, we're gonna get another writer to write for Sandman. Right. And Neil Gaiman's like, okay. so he's like, yeah, sure. So what he did was, well, I might have to spoil it, but he wrote it in such a way in which no one could pick it up. No one can come in. He fortified his writing, his legacy. He wrote Sandman in such a way and ended it in such a way that no one could come in after him and continue the series. So he saved it that way.
That's interesting.
Well, I'm going to have to check that out now. It's down on the list, but I'm going to get it. The Lucifer and then Sandman, because I've read the first 4, just not Lucifer. I'm going to do that. But so
Lucifer,
for me,
absolutely great.
So for me, episode 1 through 6, I think was great, solid entertainment. I started having trouble after the Hob episode. I think that's 6 or 7.
Yeah.
The one where he's immortal. And then I don't know what it was. The girl, the Vortex, just was cool, but then just started irritating me from episode half of 8 till it was over.
That whole family was race swapped. They were white in the comic book.
Well, I didn't know that, but it's just there's something about her, like when she turned around and is like, the dream is over, and it's like, leave my friends. I'm like, that's the fucking endless. What are you talking about?
You can't talk to Dream that way.
Yeah.
I think she does that. I can't remember correctly, but I think she might have the attitude in the comic book because she just gets so fed up and overwhelmed. I can't remember exactly, but the thing about that is Barbie is an actual person. She gets her own thing. I mixed them up beforehand because I haven't read the comics in a long time, but this is going to be interesting because I don't know how they're going to handle this, because Barbie breaks up with Ken and she has her own story, and she's in a house with what can effectively be a transgender character that was modeled after someone that Neil Gaiman knew, have sad story. They kind of died tragically. So he decided to put his friend inside the story who would happen to be effectively transgender. Now, here's the thing I can't wait for them to get to, because it's going to be interesting. I'm pretty sure they're going to woke it up. But so there was an instance where they have to go inside Barbie's dream because she's just stuck there. And here's a witch lives in the apartment she's staying at. And so the witch is like, gets all the characters who are all women. And she goes, okay, we're going to cast a spell. And so the guy who's a transgender who dresses up as a woman, she wants to join in. And the witch goes, you can't come along. You don't have a womb. You're not an actual woman. So the magic doesn't care about your feelings.
Doesn't work, yeah.
So that character stays behind, and while everyone else goes to the dreaming, and while that character stays behind, the house comes down and kills that character because of the storm. So the character dies because that person has to stay behind because the magic won't affect them. In fact, I saw them. They found out about this, and I saw them Neil Gaiman get in trouble. He's like, "Excuse me."
Oh my god! I feel like he's totally not going to do that next season.
Probably not. They're probably going to change that.
Maybe I'll just skip over that entire storyline. Like I'll just be like, maybe we just won't do this one now.
If I change it, I don't know, somehow.
I think at the end of the day, for me, I would say out of 10 episodes, 6 were solid. I enjoyed the last half hour. 2 for me were a miss. Like I could have skipped over them. And
this is what I said to George. Like for me, it was a mixed bag. Like there was like a bunch of stuff that I really, really liked, and there was a bunch of stuff that I didn't like, and I was like, what the did I just watch? Like it was just really weird. But at the same time, like, okay, let me ask you this, Literature Devil. Since you've read all the comics, you're very familiar with Neil Gaiman and his interpretation of everything. Would you call this series woke? Would you say this is a woke series?
It's more or less like, because it has things in there that are just like woke elements, like they're like the race swaps and everything are in there for, as far as I can tell, for no other reason than to do the woke stuff. Like they have to have representation. They have to do. There's no reason to do these race swaps. There's absolutely no reason to race swap Death, because people who have been fans of the series for decades, literal decades, have been waiting for waiting to see that version of Death they've been familiar with on screen. Like they've been waiting for this. So maybe
like the goth girl. Where's the goth girl?
Yeah, where is she? I wanted to see her. She's goth girl waifu, right? Everyone wants to see her.
Instead, they give you like Zelda and whatever the other.
She wasn't a bad actress, but she wasn't what I remember out of the few comics that I was not. I remember she looked like goth girl. That's it.
She was generic. The actress that got her portrayal of Death, very, very generic. Not even generic Death, but just generic portrayal of like any woman from the BBC. Like she got the one personality the BBC allows female characters to have, and then, so it felt really, really generic. I felt like I was watching Doctor Who.
And that's how I felt about Rose Walker's character, because more so with because I wasn't familiar with the source material, like the death thing wasn't as jarring for me because of because of what Neil Gaiman said himself about the character, because he was like, death can be anything, like it can be anything personified into whatever, whatever. And in fact, I actually think it would have been really cool if they made Death appear as different people to different people, because it's like whoever you're most comfortable with. It would have been cooler that way to me. But either way, I think that it's more jarring to see that human girl, Rose Walker, be race swapped, because then it's like really evident, and then her entire family is race swapped. So it's kind of like, okay, this isn't about a character not like her skin color not mattering anymore because it's Death and it's a personification of whatever Death is supposed to be. This is an actual human girl and her family, and like here we are just gonna race swap them just because, and that to me didn't sit right. I was like,
no. What bothered me the most, I think I'm now listening to both of y'all and solidifying my thoughts. I enjoyed the story. I didn't enjoy the way they treated some characters. Definitely Lucifer, Gwendolyn Christie didn't do it for me. Constantine, yep, nope. That really, especially I'm a big fan of Constantine, so that just
me too.
It was. What do you think about that, LD? About Constantine being changed?
Constantine. I understand why they did it because of rights reasons.
Oh, really? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was right because Joanna Constantine was made by Neil Gaiman. He made Joanna Constantine for Sandman, but John Constantine, that's going to come with some issues because he's his own character.
Right.
So I understand why.
That was, I'm guessing that was like some, because this is the character actually, like Joanna Constantine in the comics. But then there was also like stuff like this other who was it?
Which one?
Lucian was also race swapped and sex swapped because
Lucian was like a creature, like Lucian was like a demon looking creature, like he was like from a dream.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, that's how dare you be offended by that? I mean, come on, it's people exaggerate, you know. But the thing is, someone in the meeting room, right, had to from Netflix had to go, oh, Death Servant, black woman. let's make this servant of death from a man who is a more or less exaggerated Englishman to a black woman. Okay, yeah, servant equals black woman, right? Okay, very good, Netflix. Nice.
That's what I'm talking about. There's just certain things that you're like, oh, I can't get past this. Like, it's really jarring to see how virtue signaling they're being. Like, I just don't understand. The thing with this is because of what you said, LD, that this is an adaptation of a graphic novel. It's a comic book. People are familiar with these characters. And this is what like people like me and Jane Theory have talked about so often, is that when you are adapting a picture book, basically, essentially a comic book or a picture book, to a movie or TV screen or whatever, why can't you just make the characters look like the characters? If you can do that, then you've succeeded, because that's the point of adapting something from one medium to another.
Right.
And they just can't do it.
As much as we like to hate on, including myself, like to hate on Zack Snyder, he went to great lengths to make everyone look like what they're supposed to look like in Watchmen.
Yep. Oh,
God, Watchmen, they look exactly like they were supposed to look like in Watchmen.
Shot for shot for the book, almost most of the scenes.
Exactly. So it's definitely doable, and I do like Watchmen more or less as his own movie. He also did. James Gunn also did a good job. Not only did he do a good job with his version of Suicide Squad, you know, the one with Peacemaker and everything, he purposely did it. Like, the reason why Rick Flag has a yellow shirt is because that's what he wore in the original Suicide Squad way back when. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna be loyal to that and just put him back in his yellow shirt. So some guys are out there trying to be that way. And little Hellhound is having a fun. Okay. But that's kind of where it is. So I don't know what it is about them saying, oh, we gotta have it change. We gotta have it different. When other guys over here are producing great, or at least workable movies, and going to the extra length to make sure everyone looks like they do in the comic.
Go ahead, George.
Oh, the only thing I was going to say is the only reason I give this a pass, meaning like I don't go full throttle against it. Not only did I enjoy many aspects of it, is because the writer approved, the author. It's like, you know how I constantly go after what Amazon's doing with Tolkien's work. He's not here. You can read through all his letters, how he states what he feels about adaptations, especially going back to different screenplays and how he tore them apart. But when you have Gaiman sitting here going, yeah, I think it's fucking phenomenal. It's hard for me to, it's like it's his creation. So I speak about it from a fan perspective, like, yeah, I don't like this, I don't like this.
But you can be a sellout creator, George.
Yeah, you can. I know you can. I know that's why that's the one part I find difficult, because you have the author who's like going, no, I love it.
And that's why I was asking Literature Devil. I'm like, okay, because before the show started, what did you say to me? You said something about Neil Gaiman that was funny.
Let's see.
You said that you were kind of gay for him.
Oh yeah, that was a running joke on my stream. Like, I'm so obsessed with Neil Gaiman. This has been a running joke. Like, he sure has Bando.
Brilliant writer.
So I was like, okay, so like after you watch this, are you still gay for him?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
still.
Gods. Have you ever seen the Red or seen the American Gods?
Oh yeah, I have it. I have it in physical copy and digital, as well as Good Omens. and Coraline is a good one too.
I've seen
Very good.
Coraline with my
Coraline's
nieces.
great.
With my nieces, they go crazy over Coraline.
I like
Coraline's
Coraline.
really good.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sandman, though, there's so many things about the creation of Sandman that is really obliterates today's narrative.
Mhm.
I mean, so Neil Gaiman being an actual writer, like someone who actually likes the act of writing and making his own stuff and not having to rely on someone's legacy. The reason why Sandman's called Sandman is because after they took him off of Black Orchid, they're going to give him DC's Sandman. They're going to give him like the character, and like, okay, well, actually they said here's a list of characters you can use. And by the way, they didn't put him on Superman just to be woke or whatever. They didn't give him an A-lister. They gave him a list of like, here's some offbeat characters you can practice with. He's like, I'll take Sandman, but I got to make it my way. And he did so. He's like, basically just crumple it all up, toss it away, and just made this. So instead of having to ride on someone else's coattails, having to ride on a character that's already been established, he made this. He made his own creation, and then he just tossed whatever they wanted to give him away. In fact, the Sandman he was supposed to write for is in the comic, and he's like a superhero who was inspired by Dream of the Endless. But so he does still exist in the comic book a little bit.
That's really interesting. And these are the things that, for example, I didn't mind in this series. Like, for example, I know that there was a bunch of stuff that was in connection with the DC comics, and he couldn't do certain things with that. So, for example, with certain characters were even made up in this series, like this character here, like Galt, wasn't actually in the Sandman comics.
Right.
This was like an amalgamation of different characters, like in DC comics. And obviously, again, this is another Black actor that was representing this character, and I didn't mind that because I was like, well, whatever. Like, this is a new creation.
It was
this is
an
a
actually
new
interesting character going from nightmare to dream.
Yeah, and I actually really like that character too. I thought it was a really interesting situation with that character, and this is one of those times where I was like, "Well, that's cool that they wanted to make this character Black or whatever," because it really doesn't matter. That's the new character creation. Whereas with the other one with Rose Walker, I feel like that's kind of or with Death. That's when it becomes really annoying when you see these race swaps happen, because you can make original content and cast, Black actors, and they'll be great. Like this lady was. I thought she was fantastic in this role. But that's when people get bothered, especially fans that are big fans of the original content, and they're just sick and tired of the woke. And I can understand it. I can understand it from their point of view.
Especially when there's no reason for the change. Like this is, of course, like with Samuel Jackson and Nick Fury, that was a good change because he plays a really good Nick Fury.
Oh yeah.
But with these, there's there's absolutely no reason for any of this. There's no reason to have an actress that does not look like Death at all from the comics. There's no reason to do this. There's no reason at all. It doesn't enhance the story. It doesn't enhance the character. It just makes them It just makes them.
He literally
different.
told him to touch grass. Was that in the comic book?
I mean, I was like, "What is this? Like the New York Times now?"
I don't think so. Also, I do like the casting of Stephen Fry for Fiddler's Green. That was really good.
That was great. That was a great cast, and I really liked that character too. I haven't
seen him in
a while. That was really good. That was really good.
His entrance was kind of ruined with a little bit of wokeness. His entrance kind of ruined a little bit of wokeness because he comes in and then Rose Walker is like getting accosted by, of course, two white thugs. Because of course
that's
they
what
are.
I'm talking about right there. You just hit on it. See, it's like
yes,
they didn't do what they've done typically in these modern shows where the whole thing hits you over the head with woke. It's like it was just stitched bits here and there.
Yeah, it was really subtle shit, and you're like, wait, what the fuck is this? Wait, what episode was that? Because I want to try and find that scene.
That you mean where he goes back to being the full Fiddler's Green out of human form?
No. When he's in the alley.
I forgot which one that was.
6. What, 6
Was
or
that
7? 6 or the beginning of 7.
It was
like
either 6, 7.
When the thugs try to take her ring.
Of course, it's like two white thugs that come in because, of course, they have to be like these two like white, almost clean cut guys, like Republican looking thugs, and then and then she goes
literally skinheads. I was like, what is happening right now?
And then she goes in. And she goes, that won't be necessary. You don't have to save me. And she goes fighting them herself. And she takes one down. Like, what?
I know. I was like, dude, where'd she even get that bottle? I was like,
what did she get kung fu powers all of a sudden? What the hell?
That was shocking. And I was like, wow, okay. Yeah, kung fu.
I'm trying to find that scene because that scene was fucking weird. Oh, and like seriously though, like there was so many times where that dude was like cross-dressed singing, and I was like, okay, like we get it.
What
Like,
was that for? What was that constantly for?
this,
Was that just his dream?
it was just his
'Cause
dream.
there were a couple of scenes that actually I didn't know what the hell was going on, and that has never happened to me in the show.
Oh, okay. I found
the girl who was seeing her husband. I'm like, it's a ghost. You know, it's a ghost. But is he bringing her into his dream?
Oh my god, yeah, we need to talk
she
about
was
that whole
pregnant, and
thing.
I'm like, wait a minute, she wasn't pregnant. I'm like, I'm a minute.
We need to talk about the whole thing because I did not understand what the hell was going on. These were the guys that we're talking about. They just show up and they're like skinheads with like knives. They're like, we're gonna rape you now. It's just like what?
They look like the bad guys from Kingsman, actually.
I thought they were from
you're right.
Juicy Smollett, you know.
Oh
Juicy
my
Smollett.
god! And then she's like, "I'm gonna take you down myself," and she does.
I want their dialogue to be that way. Here's mega crunchy, bruv.
Yeah. And then she's like, "I can take care of myself." Like when this dude shows up, and he's like, "Let me help you," and she's like, "No."
It's kind of a weird mentality that in order for a woman to be a hero, she has to be able to fight. It's not necessarily true.
That's not true.
That's
not true. Real quick, I'm going to get a couple of these super chats here from the Rustman, $20. Thank you so much for your generosity. It says, subscriber to all of you and hail to the fellowship. Have any of you heard Robert Meyer Burnett's take? I was surprised. It seems he's been sucked back into the shill vortex. Such a bummer if that's the case. I like him. I did hear that Robert Meyer Burnett really liked the series, and but I know that he, like Literature Devil, he's a huge fan of the comics as well. So his interpretation was actually pretty interesting because I haven't heard, like, because when I first heard of him talking about it, he had only seen like one episode and he really liked it, but I don't know what his thoughts are on the whole series as a whole. So but yeah, he likes it. As far as I know, he likes it.
And he likes a lot of stuff we consider to be more. There's nothing wrong with it. That's his taste. But he has a more, I don't know,
liberal.
There you go. It's not liberal. He's more accepting of more things. He's like, I'll just ignore that. But to me, it destroys the story. But he can somehow see past that. Which
he can see past it.
If he has, that's a talent.
Yeah, I mean.
More
Definitely.
submissive, like a more submissive, accepting, cucked sort of.
Oh my god!
Well, it's just okay. I was being a little bit more polite.
Please, master, step on me again. It's okay.
Well, that's how Lofty deals with things. Like he's like, I don't care. Like I'll just watch it, you know. Like and a lot of people are like, why would you? It's kind of like hating yourself.
But to me, the reason why I could go through Sandman is not just because I'm a fan of the original work, is because a lot of it's actually really good. Like a lot of really strong writing, a lot of good, really strong writing. And I kind of look at it as it's like the core of it. Like Neil Gaiman was going there, and the core of it is really good. Then they had some weirdo like gremlin come around and just add in a bunch of woke crap, like this haphazardly. Like they had some weird, crazy, drugged up psycho just go in there. It's like, okay, we gotta have this in here. We gotta have diversity, like some cracked up weirdo. It's like diversity. So I really feel like a mixture of oil and water. You have like this one on one hand, for the most part, it was a nice, masterful guiding hand leading into a narrative. Because at times it could really draw you in. And then every once in a while, this little strange gremlin pops up and it's like, here's diversity.
Right.
And this doesn't ruin the story. It is dropped in there like Easter eggs. It's like
some diversity.
Yeah, and I think that like for me, like again, not knowing the source material, one of the most jarring like woke moments was like when Rose Walker. Because again, like when I was watching the series, I didn't even know Rose was supposed to be white technically, like in the series, in the comic books. But like the whole like her brother being brought up by that super mean white couple that was like super, like the dude was so
animal. He was an
evil.
animal.
Like he was so evil, and he was even evil to his wife, and the wife was like the submissive like doormat, and she wouldn't do anything, and she would just let him walk all over her and like abuse the child. And I was like, women don't usually do that unless they're like, I mean,
Yeah, that's like from the
Talking about a lot of
70s.
which
That wasn't a comic because he had to be in an abusive relationship because that's how he just retreats to his dreams. Because a lot of the themes is like you retreat to your dreams. Some people retreat to their dreams too much, and they get stuck there, and that's a danger, especially in this universe. And you're supposed to inspire you, and you're supposed to get lost there.
Is that why he pulled the kid out? Because the character was saying like he needs that as a retreat because his life is horrible.
Yeah, but in the comic book he was white, so it didn't have that like extra tension. Like, oh, he's an evil racist. He was just an evil. He was just a bad man who just wanted to abuse people.
Well, and that's the thing too, and that's something Jane brought up in the group chat that we were talking about because she was like, well, he's just trying to portray that like a lot of these foster families are really like kind of evil because they just do it for like the money, you know, to get. They don't actually take care of the kid; they're just using the money for like whatever drugs or whatever.
Right.
But. And I can see that, but it's just because there's so many other race swaps and sex swaps going on that this one just seemed like it was as if it's like, oh, let's just say white people are evil and they're, you know, being really mean to these black kids. Like,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, Netflix is the one that brought it into the situation. Like, if Netflix is the one that brought this stuff into conversation. They were the ones that like, okay, let's bring in diversity and representation. We have to represent them really well. So when they're the ones that bring in diversity and representation, it's on the table. So then we have to discuss it. We have to bring it in, and we have to look through every single decision they make through that lens because they did. They already brought that in, not us. Yeah. Had they not done that, had not been like, okay, we're going to do all these race swaps and everything, then it wouldn't be on the table and they wouldn't be like, oh, they hate white people or whatever. But since they did, now we can see what pattern they're working with. So like, for example, like all men who are in a straight relationship has to be evil. They have to be like secret demons or something.
Right.
One of my favorite parts though is like when they're in the restaurant and like this white kid who's like there for his first job or something.
Oh god, the 16-year-old.
Yeah, he's like this. He's like a moron. He doesn't know anything, and he's just putting his foot in his mouth at every point. And he's like, "Hello, lady. What's your name? I'm lesbian." Like, okay, calm down, lady. And then the couple walks in, and like, oh, the CEO. Oh, he's the CEO. Actually, she's the CEO. Like, they had to stop the show. Like, wait a minute. She's the CEO. He's the trophy husband.
Right. Like, was that in the comics? Like,
I don't remember. I don't think so.
Because in the comics,
it wasn't that blatant. It wasn't like, okay, stop the show.
No, it was very.
He's the CEO.
Wow.
And I don't remember it being such a horrifying scene in the comics. This was much different. I don't recall exactly, but it was in the restaurant, but it happened differently.
A lot of people say
Destiny acted differently in there, didn't he?
He looked different, first of all, because he's a monster in the comic. But it was pretty horrifying in the comic. Like it was, they end up doing horrible. But
wasn't it more violent instead of sexual?
Yeah, it was both. Like they had an orgy, and then they were all of a sudden they're just burning each other.
Whoa.
Yeah, but in the show, it has to do the SJW thing where lying is the worst sin ever created. But in the comic book, he's just evil. Like he just wants to make him do that because it pleasures him. That's kind of how it's done.
Oh,
he's just
really?
Evil. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, a lot of people say that episode 5 was the worst one, and you know, I guess I kind of agree because. Well, I don't know if I agree, but there was parts of the episode that I was really, really engaged, and I was like, "What is happening?" You know, like I couldn't tell if it was real or if it was not, or like are these people like actually killing each other? Or are they actually, you know, are they actually fucking? Like I didn't know what was going on like half the time, but I guess it was all real. Like he did do all of that to them. I don't know. It was really strange because they had like the news going on in the background and the news was changing too. So it's like, it was as if he was like changing reality. It was just a really weird episode. Jeremy Wormy for 5 says, I came in now. I finished my Sandman review last night. Episode 5 and 10 were the worst, but 10 does have a speech about stop being the victim. Is that when Rose was like telling him to like shut the fuck up, basically? I think that's what you're talking about.
And I mean, everyone's just like, is this really? It comes out of nowhere. These people are just disrespectful to Dream. I mean, he's Dream of the Endless. Have some respect. The people that talk to him like that are essentially like other deities and stuff. Like Death. Like
Desire could probably talk to him like that, but
another deity, not some like mortal meat suit.
Yeah,
she's like, "You're not very bright, are you?" He's Dream. He's like 10,000 times smarter than you, lady.
Oh my god. Thank you, Jeremy Wormy, for that super chat. And then Banana Backs with Banana Dave for $2 says, Literature Devil, you know Nina too? Where's Mardigan?
Banana Dave.
Are you guys talking about Mad Mardigan?
And Mad Mardigan, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Banana Dave. I think Banana Dave also watches Mad Mardigan.
He's Mad Mardigan is very gay. I'm sure he likes this show very much. Okay. I guess one of the other characters that I really liked was I will say this. I did really enjoy the performance of the Corinthian. I thought that he was really good. Like
that was definitely the Corinthian, yeah. Absolutely.
I couldn't find any fault in his performance. Like I thought he was really good. He freaked me out. I liked his lines. I thought he was handsome, especially where he's like wearing his glasses and until the very end where you're like, what the fuck is wrong with those fucking eyes? But I thought he was cast really well.
Oh yeah, he was fantastic. I like, and the show actually makes him more of a central figure in the show rather than the comic. He just kind of shows up for the serial killer convention arc. He escapes and he's there for the serial killer convention arc. But here in the show is like, oh yeah, he met Anthony or what's his name, Oliver Burgess.
Oh no, Burgess. You talking about the one who trapped Dream?
Yeah, I keep forgetting his first name, but yeah, in the show
Burgess
he met him.
Or something.
He met Burgess in the show. In the comic book, that was all Burgess. Burgess was like 10 times smarter in the comic book because Burgess didn't need anyone in to tell him what happened. He's like, oh man, we captured Dream instead of death. Oh well, here's how we keep him here. So he knew everything. Like he already knew everything. In the show, Corinthian had to tell him stuff, but in the comic book, yeah, he's smart enough to know everything.
Derby Wormy for 2 clarifies the victim's speech is Dream talking to the killers. Oh yeah. That's
okay,
right.
that was it. What that was in the comic book too, because he
did the do better thing.
It's Roderick Burgess.
Roderick, that's what it was. I keep forgetting his first name. I just know it was Burgess or the Magas. But
I call him Magus, yeah.
But I like the fact that they cast Tywin Lannister as him. Like that's a perfect casting for Roderick Burgess.
Oh my god!
But who is the actor who played Dream? I've never seen him before.
Neither have I, but he plays him really well for the most part.
I thought
not too serious. Like every once in a while in the comic book, Dream will have like a funny moment, like when Death is yelling at him, he's like crouching and cowering.
He reminded me of Edward from like freaking Twilight. I was like, dude, this guy looks exactly like Twilight. Like, I don't know what's going on. Again, because I hadn't seen the source material, I was like, is this guy copying like Edward from Twilight? But that's what he looks like in the comics. So it's like I couldn't be like, oh, this guy's literally Edward from Twilight.
It's kind of cool in the comics because he looks the same from panel to panel, but he like looks different. Like it seems that the art is very rough, and between issues it can be very, very rough. So sometimes he looks like a guy with a huge nose, and sometimes he looks like what he looks like in the show, and sometimes he looks something completely different. Like it's really cool, and it really works for him because he's Dream of the Endless. So it's really awesome.
Oh my god, you guys, that's so funny. I just went on some article because I was like trying to find stuff about this guy, and like there was a picture of him with the Sparkly Man, and I was like, what the hell?
with Edward.
Yeah, he's like literally with Edward. Well, he's with Robert Pattinson, and I'm like, what the fuck? They're like friends. Of course they are because they're both sparkly. Well, they're not, but you know. Hold on, this is it. I was like, what the fuck? Look, there he is. Sparkly.
Wow. They're kind of drunk in that one.
They look so drunk. Apparently they're friends. They like hang out all the time, which makes sense now. See?
But they're like they're ready for Friday Night Tights or something.
I know, right? Look, they're friends. That's so funny. Now I know why he acted like him. He's like, I'm gonna copy you. And the guy's like, let me give you some hints. Sandra Knight for 5, thank you, says Neil Gaiman will autograph his own books at airport bookshops. Ouch. Is that a diss? I feel like that's a diss.
Well, he's also a very nice guy. Like he'll just if you go up to him, he won't be like, oh, I'm better than you. He'll be like, if you want to say, hey, Mr. Gaiman, can you sign this for me? He'll be like, yeah, sure.
Oh, really? That's nice.
There's one story I heard that some I think it was a mom or someone that had a manuscript that her son wrote, and she goes to Neil Gaiman after a show he did. That was like a 5-hour show or something like that, and he had a plane to catch. But like he didn't go, screw you, I got a plane to catch. He kept being nice, like, I can't really read it right now. Would you mind sending it to me through my email? And she just wouldn't take no for an answer.
Oh,
But he just kept like, okay, fine, we'll do it. I'll just send it to my email. I forgot how it ended, but yeah, he was very patient, didn't get angry or raise his voice. So he has a very patient side. Yeah.
That's really sweet. I will say this. This is one of the other things that I found that was kind of interesting to me was the casting of Desire. Was apparently done through Twitter, like kind of.
What?
Sandman Neil Gaiman shares the tweet that led to casting Netflix's Desire. So what happened was when they first announced it, basically, he said Mason, he came out and he put this out recently and says Mason's reply began the process of getting Mason a part cast, but my original tweet now feels like it was written from a time that's past. The groaning hinges of the world indeed. And the tweet was basically like him talking about the show, and then they was like, will Desire be making? Oh, here I have it. Hold on. Will Desire be making an appearance in season 1? And if so, please tell me you haven't found them yet, are still auditioning. And when Neil saw that, apparently he was like, yeah, that's what I want for Desire. So that's kind of like how it snowballed into that happening. Which I thought was interesting again, because it's like it shows kind of like this day and age casting.
Right. Out of the box thinking. It's not, let's just go to a casting director and then an agency, and I got you.
It's like, oh, on Twitter, like I'm just gonna tweet at the maker of the story and be like, yo, have you casted this yet? Because if not, I want to audition. Like, like that's kind of like the new age way of casting. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But going back to what you were saying earlier, George, about something that really confused me about the series was that whole Lyda storyline. And Literature Devil, maybe you can like shine some light on this, because I was so confused about her like getting pregnant in real life. Like the fact that she was having sex with her ghost of a husband in her dream, but then the ghost somehow impregnated her, and then it translated into real life, because I guess the vortex was making it happen. But then when the vortex kind of like left, like when that situation was over, wouldn't the baby be gone too? Like I'm kind of really confused about how that worked.
That's the part that I was confused. Was it the fact that they got the power from dreams dreaming, or?
Yeah,
because he said it was his kid, like basically.
Yeah, and I was confused too, because I was like, wait, does that mean his dreams kid? Like, is he technically the baby daddy then? But then no.
When she was dreaming, I don't know. I didn't get that from him, but no, I got what he was saying was like it happened with his powers or within his realm. I don't know. What do y'all think? I couldn't figure that one out.
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
He was actually, I think they also mentioned he was a ghost hiding in dreams. So he was like not just a dream; he's an actual ghost.
He was a
like,
ghost.
I'm like, that's why you're having ghost sex with your husband, and it's like, oh yeah, he was an actual ghost, which actually do exist in this world, I believe. But that baby is actually setting up a major arc for much later. So
that's what I figured, because they wouldn't even say the name of the baby. So I was like, I mean, I'm figuring that they're saying like they're setting up a story arc for that baby, but I just couldn't understand how it could even exist, because I was like, okay, is it a dream baby? If it's a ghost baby, but then it became real because of the vortex's power to make dreams come true, then wouldn't it go away once the vortex is gone? Because the vortex is taking away everything with it, right? Like assumingly, I don't know.
It's just dream logic. Whatever happened, wherever needs to happen can happen.
So basically, she got pregnant in a dream. I got it. Cool.
Essentially, yeah. That's what happened.
Okay. Yeah, because these are the things that I'm kind of like a little bit more I guess like I can't just suspend my disbelief that much. Like I try really hard, but then I'm like there's certain things that I'm like and those are the things that I'm is a bit of a miss for me with in terms of like the storyline because I'm like well, I don't get it. Like why this, you know, or like why that? Or certain things like for example, like why is Desire so evil? Like I don't understand what its beef is with Dream. Like I would like that explained. Like, you know, the only thing I got from it was what when they were talking about, oh, I don't like Dream because he's so pretentious and he thinks like everything in his realm is better than mine. And I'm like, really? Like that's it? Like are we not going to go any deeper with regards to this character or like what actually drives their hate for their sibling? And what does that mean that they're siblings? Like who's their creator then? Is it God? Because we now met the devil.
Yeah,
Like
the Silver City God, the whole that
okay.
planet. At least
I
that's
just
what I
want to
got,
know.
unless there's more into the comics that I am not aware of.
I'm
It's kind
guessing
of, I
it's
think it's
God.
kind of always been there because the thing is that Cain and Abel and I
Right.
think even Lucian
Oh.
actually came from a different universe, like a different world, and it was kind of just repurposed. So I think like they're because they're supposed to be even larger than gods. Because later on you'll see like Loki and Thor come in. Because it seems like at the end of the series they're setting up they're setting up for the next season 2 to enter in one of my favorite and probably the best arcs in Sandman, where he wants to go fight Lucifer, and what a grand subversion of expectations it's going to be.
Oh,
And
really?
it's such a great arc that it sparks Lucifer, the comic book series, the spin-off series.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's really
Okay.
cool.
And who is the baby supposed to be? You were mentioning it. I'm just curious.
Well, if I tell you, it's going to be a major spoiler for like the
Oh.
Yeah.
ending arc. So
I don't know if I want to know, George.
Okay.
but
Wait,
yeah,
I
it's
do want to know. Put it in the private chat so you don't spoil it for like other people, but I want to know. 'Cause I will take the risk. I'm going to forget anyways. Like, I know myself.
let's see. But one of the things I've noticed is like, why did they make Lucifer a woman?
Yeah.
That's a peculiar like because because he has the same hair as Lucifer in the first guy. Like, no, that's not good enough. Now it's like I watched the series, like, oh, it's because if they made her a man, there would be a straight relationship with Mazikeen, and that's they can't do that. It's like, oh, that makes
Oh
sense.
my God. Do you really think that that's what it was? Because I think it's like the reason that they made her whatever like Lucifer, I think it's just because of the name. Like you guys don't think it's just because of the name? Like they were like, oh, we got this person, so like yeah, we're casting her. Like this is like, you know, she was one of the biggest characters in Game of Thrones. Like, you know, that's where she got her fame as like Brienne of Tarth or whatever. But I just like I think I think that's a name thing more than anything else. I don't know though. Maybe it's not.
They should, at the very least, you should cast a man at the very least. But yeah, to me, I assume like, why did they cast a woman? Yeah, I mean they cast David Bowie because you know he's devilish looking and yeah, there's some androgyny to him and something like that. But he was a man, and so like Mazikeen, by the way, doesn't even pop up until like the Hell arc. It just boom at the end. Hey, Mazikeen. Yeah. She's like, I want to stay with you. I want to stay with you, Lucifer. Okay, let's go. That's kind of where it came from. But also Neil Gaiman did a lot of work for Mazikeen that did this kind of this brushed away for the show, because in the show she speaks normally. Also, she just has like a little mark on her face. In the comic book, it literally half her body is this bone and muscle. Half of her body is just kind of just gone, eviscerated. And that's how she was born. And her dialogue is such that Neil Gaiman was like, how would a person with half a mouth talk? And that's what her dialogue sounds like. So you have to get used to reading it. It's hard to read her dialogue because it sounds like he spelled it out and everything.
It's like mumbles.
Yeah, so it's weird, but yeah, they kind of just in the show. Oh yeah, she's just perfect looking, and she has a little mar on her face, and she speaks fine. Okay, great. Thanks for taking away all of that.
That's hilarious. Okay, so at least we know the baby is going to be a big deal moving forward. The baby is a big deal. Okay,
yeah, it'll come back. I can't wait to see Delirium, because Delirium is not evil either. Like Despair and Delirium, they kind of just follow Desire's lead, but they're not exactly evil either. I mean, there's a whole arc where they kind of dream and delirium. This guy going a car ride.
I read an article about how Neil is looking at possible casting for Delirium, and I think Destruction. He hasn't picked yet, but he's I'm beginning the process of picking who I want for the next one. So if you're out there and you're an actor, you might want to at Neil Gaiman, because maybe
is it Idris Elba? We're gonna get Idris Elba to play Delirium.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. Ian So Forth, thank you so much for the 15. Says you've missed the point. Okay, tell me the point. The whole point of Netflix Sandman is a clinic on how to get our money's worth out of a green screen. Hey, that's a good point. That's a good point, because that was a lot of it was green screen. Although a lot of it too was, I mean, especially like the first episode, like even though it was green screen, a lot of it was really well done green screen. Like I was like, it's better than Marvel.
Than what it was. It's better than anything I've seen on DC or Disney Plus or. I was really surprised by that. I would say the cinematography, the timing, the music.
There was a lot of really cool shots. They had like, especially in the first episodes when they're introducing the idea of what it means in this world, like this world and like what dream is and what its realm is and stuff like that. They did some really cool shots with a raven, like going through all the stuff and everything. Yeah, the dream world. Like it was really, really cool. Yeah, the bridge
with the hands,
with the hands and stuff. Yeah, those were really, really cool. There was a lot of really cool shots in that in the show, and I think that their CG artists did a much better job than Disney Marvel right now. I mean, if you look, like it's really weird, because if you think about how this is what you're saying, Ian, about like green screen and CG and stuff like that, and then there's She-Hulk, and you put the two shows next to each other, you could see the difference in the artists and the time and the effort that's been put into the series. And maybe even, I don't know if I would say funding, because I know Disney has a lot of money that they're spending on these things, but I mean, Netflix definitely outdid them on this show specifically. I think
She-Hulk is more like the Why Not show. This is like more like a Shakespearean stuff.
Yeah,
I can't wait till they get to the whole arc with where he gets with Shakespeare and they write a play for the literal fairies. It's going to be fantastic.
Oh my god, that's so cool, because Shakespeare was brought up in that favorite episode of mine when they were talking about when he was going through time.
They go back to him. They figure out you get this. There is an arc. I don't know if they'll do it in the show, but there's an arc where you see where he takes Shakespeare after that moment.
Ian clarifies, I didn't mean it was bad, just you big. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it was. It's true. It's true. It was very, very green screeny. Kryptonian Jedi for 5 says, do you think they are building up to Justice League Dark? And if so, for movies or TV? I think this is for you, Literature Devil, because I have no idea.
You mean for the DC movies? With Zack, if Zack Snyder was still on board, probably, because he's like, oh, we've got to make it darker and edgier. We got to make things stupid and dark. We've got to make things cool. It's not your grandma's Superman. It's edgy Superman. It's the cool Superman that all 13-year-olds like. Yeah, it's just this edgy 13-year-old Superman.
We need more gray. More gray.
Turn off more lights. Make it more gray.
Darker, grayscale.
Okay, if a 13-year-old boy would have come up with it, that's perfect. That's what maturity is. A 13-year-old boy who writes Superman. That's great. This was what maturity is. That's what we have. That's what we know now as mature writing. What an edgy, emo 13-year-old kid would write in high school. Fantastic. I'm glad this is where we're going. Superman, he doesn't like his job as Superman. He wants to be a meanie head. Yeah.
Oh my god. I will say also that the other thing that I found there was a couple things in the show that I found like kind of funny. Like, for example, like the whole cereal convention. Like, I thought that was funny. Like, I was like, oh, we're doing a cereal convention, but it's actually a serial killer.
Yeah, the serial killers. Yeah, he actually thought that up at a convention. Like he's like,
that's funny. Like, I thought that whole scenario was, it's funny and terrifying at the same time, because you're like, dude, if I ever see an actual cereal convention now, I'm gonna have questions. Like, I'm gonna be like, where are your fucking cereal at?
Yeah. I think he was at a convention and he was like, he says he describes it as, I was surrounded by perfectly nice, ordinary people, and you couldn't help but I wonder if serial killers have conventions.
Mm.
You have panels on women in serial killing and that sort of thing. I like to have they actually did that because I wasn't really in the comic. They had like a section on it where like, oh yeah, they're the R at a panel, but they actually had dialogue in it. And of course,
That's
but
funny.
of course, the dialogue is like, "We are discriminated against in our." I mean, can you please have something else besides freaking discrimination to talk about? These are serial killers.
Oh my God, the best one though was the women's panel because I was
Oh,
like, I'm fucking dying because
Exactly.
she's like the women, like we don't, like
They're
we're
oppressed.
discriminated.
They're awesome. What is this called, man? Like even serial killers, they have to make them woke and
Yeah.
and independent
sorry, I
and strong.
can't kill you. I can only kill white people. What the
Yeah, like
hell?
the woman was like, we often use our brain and our strength. And I was like, dude, we
No, you
don't
don't.
always use our like feminine wilds and like our sexuality. And it's like the ugliest woman talking about like how she doesn't use her sexuality. And I'm like, yeah,
I'm
no
pretty sure she
shit,
doesn't.
lady. You're a fucking land whale. No
Well,
wonder.
the
Like,
thing is, women
geez.
tend to kill. Women serial killers tend to kill differently than men. Men usually like, hey, here's an axe, but then women usually like they'll poison you or they'll
Poison or
do
more
certain other
finesse.
things. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, even like that main serial killer lady, like she was like a doctor and she was
yeah.
basically like,
She's an angel of death. Like the
yeah.
ones that'll just poison you to death, or the ones like, oops, I accidentally killed them during surgery. Usually, the angel of death are usually like nurses that will just kill their patients by giving them too much of something or whatever.
Right.
Let's
Uh,
see.
yeah, that's that whole scene was really interesting. And then
I,
that like the creepy guy that was like stalking kids in Disneyland and he's like the pedo.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, dude, what the fuck? Like that guy was super freaky.
I was
Kryptonian Jedi for another 5 says Justice League Dark is the magic users of the Justice League, Constantine, Dr. Fate, Zatanna, and Sandman, etc.
Thank God that what's his name? I think dropped it. JJ Lens Flare Abrams was supposed to do that. Warner Bros. I think it was Zaslav who canceled it.
I don't know Kryptonian Jedi. I don't think they can do that because it all it all has to do with their like the rights to all of these characters or whatever. Or I don't know if
Warner's
they're
gonna
gonna
do
do that.
them. Warner's gonna do them, but I think they've canceled. I think that was the rumor that I last heard. JJ Abrams wanted to do was helming Justice League Dark.
But I mean, for Netflix, though.
Oh no,
you
no,
know?
Netflix can't do that.
Yeah,
unless they somehow
Netflix
cut
won't
a
be
deal
able
with
to.
Warner's. No, and the problem is though, 3 months ago they announced that they had their new Constantine, which I can't believe it. Keanu Reeves announced last year that he wanted to return and do a sequel to his Constantine. And then Warner Brothers, or it was Abrams, announced that they had their Constantine, but it was a black Constantine, and they're not going to do the original one, the blonde going off of.
I liked Keanu's Constantine.
I did, but not a lot of people did. It's not very accurate, but
it's like American Constantine.
Yeah, it's not accurate, but it was.
But
enjoyable.
I just like Keanu Reeves. So I was like, yay, Keanu Reeves. Like, I don't really give a shit.
I like Tilda Swinton as Gabriel. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
I like that Shia LaBeouf died in that movie.
Like the
that was
devil.
pretty awesome.
That was great.
That's my favorite character. The actor, I always forget his name, but I love the actor who played Lucifer.
Yeah, he's always like a sleazy kind of guy. He's really good.
His voice. There's something about his voice, his mannerisms.
Also, he's a man, so he plays a really good devil.
Yeah.
200 Watt Studios is here for $2. Says, hey, Nina, looking spicy. Tamale tonight, baby. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. George, you say you have to go. Do you want to tell us the final thoughts you have on Sandman and then let everyone know where they can find you before you leave?
My final thoughts is if you haven't watched it, the world, if you've never read the comics, I've only read a couple. It's worth it to explore the world. There are going to be a couple things that might irritate you. Just ignore them and push forward. But because it really has some beautiful cinematography, some great effects, better than anything you're going to find on Disney and any of their streaming series, better than anything that Amazon has put out. And there are some great moments. I mean, great moments. For every woke moment, I'd say you have 5 times as much solid storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, if you have nothing to do on a Sunday afternoon, watch it.
Yeah, Why not?
Yeah.
That's pretty much how I feel about it too, George. Thank you so much. Thank you again for the memberships, George. You're awesome. And we'll see you around, buddy.
See you around. Everybody have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
You too.
Yeah, it's weird. It had its moments for me. Like I would say, I don't know if I would say like, yeah, go watch it kind of thing. Like I might even be like, maybe you might want to hold off until there's a few seasons out and let's see where it goes. Like I don't know. Like I'm kind of one of those people that's like, first of all, I like an ending, so I want to know like exactly that they're going to get their ending before I can like be like, yeah, go watch it. But I mean, it was good. If you can get past the race and sex swaps, then yeah, it's good. It's an entertaining series. It's got a lot of really interesting premises, like especially if you're not familiar with the source material, I feel like it has a lot of really interesting storylines, like the fight between good and evil and the questioning certain things about uh reality and human existence and what is certain things and what is the meaning of life and prolonged life, and those kind of things are like the really interesting ideas that he explores within the series, and those kind of things I really like. But honestly, if you're sick and tired of race swaps and sex swaps and all that kind of stuff and you're not going to get past it, you're probably not going to enjoy the series. I can promise you
It
that.
feels very British. It feels very BBC at times.
It does. There's also a lot of gay in it. I'm not gonna lie. That there's
much that
a
I
lot of
assume
gay.
that everyone is just standard gay in this world. Like everyone's just gay, and they're like, oh, look, a straight person. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a lot of gay. The Corinthian makes out with several people, and it's very gay.
He's gay in the comics, so that's fine. But they just kept adding
Yeah.
more and more gay stuff.
But I mean, it's like I'm meaning like it's graphic. Like you're watching gay people make out. Like I'm not like sugarcoating. Yeah, be prepared.
Be prepared to see a lot of gay stuff.
Be prepared to see a lot of gay stuff. Be prepared to see some violent things. There's definitely violent, very violent scenes. Like this is one scene where like this dude like kind of like rips his mask off because he's like in a dream, and you could see like his kind of like skin like underneath the skin, what like a person looks like. That kind of came out of nowhere for me, like at
I was
that
kind of relieved to
point.
see his grotesque skinless face, because I could have sworn I was like, oh, I know where they're going here. Like this is not my real face, and he just and this is the guy's face, and this is not my real face either. And he pulls out. I could have sworn I was betting they're going to do like give him a girl's face and make him trans.
That's what I thought too. I thought they were gonna give him a woman's face. Like I was like, I thought that he was gonna take off his mask, and because he kept being like because he was like a cross dresser, and they kept like being like, oh, that's not really me or whatever. Like I was thinking that they're doing like a play on identity, and it was like so I figured the next face is going to be an actual woman's face, but it was like his like skin underneath and stuff like that, and I was like, oh my god, like that's graphic. Like I didn't think that they were going to go there, but they did. And it was kind of weird. 200 Watt Studios for 2 says, Nina, that lipstick you're wearing is a keeper. Thank you. I love it.
I know he's looking for someone to play Destruction. I'm not sure he matches it, but I kind of want them to get Brendan Gleeson to play Destruction.
Who? Okay, hold on. Let me look up. I'm bad with names. Brendan Gleeson.
He's the guy who plays like Mad Eye Moody in Harry Potter. I'm not sure. He might be too old now.
Yeah.
But
well, it depends though. Yeah, it depends on the character. Like, do you think that he would be?
Because Destruction isn't really in the comic book much at all. Like he's in there. He's like the end goal for a really good arc, but he has like the jovial look to him. Like I think he can pull off jovial because the Destruction's actually a pretty happy guy. He's pretty like, hey, whatever. It's pretty interesting.
And I was gonna tell you that I thought that like the whole Despair casting was hilarious because like, dude, casting a fat chick in a shirt with fucking sweats on because she's given up on life is exactly what Despair would be like. That is literally my Despair. Like if I ended up looking like that, I'd be like, yep, That's
That is
it.
true, but it's just kind of weird to go from the comic book to this monstrous, like tiny little despair, or like she's big, fat, and bulbous with the hook, and then to go to like, oh, she's just some like middle-aged lady in a shirt.
Dude, if I ended up looking like that, I would be like, death is nearby because like I'm going to be committing suicide really
Like,
soon.
that or just complaining on Twitter all day. That's what it looks like. She's like, Trump this. Trump
I know she totally did look like that. She's got legit. She had fucking sweats on. Hold on, I'm trying to find that scene. Where was that episode? Was that episode 9?
Like the actor was depressed. Like she didn't even want to come to work that day.
She did not want to be there at all. Okay, and then the other thing was like, okay, was Barbie and like Ken, like that whole relationship. I was so confused. Like, was he cheating on her the whole time? Like, I don't understand. Like, I was like, what is the relevance of all of these different characters being introduced? Like, I was like trying to keep track of like who's important. Like, should I be caring about this? Like, why am I caring about this? You know?
Yeah, and
I
in
couldn't
Virgin
tell.
Comics, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like, okay, Barbie and Ken, they were kind of creepy in the comics. Like, oh, they're like the perfect Stepford Smiler type of people. And the show, I was like, I had mixed feelings at first because, like, okay, so they're straight, so they're straight couple, so obviously straight white couple,
There
which
has
is
to be
even
something
worse.
wrong.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
obviously this is going to be, obviously Ken's going to be evil, and it is how it plays out in the comic too. But on the second half, I was like, this makes sense why Ken would be evil. He's like a man bun soy boy. So a man bun wearing soy boy. It's like, okay, that makes sense. He's like a soy boy, so he's like going to be an
Yeah.
absolute douchebag. Although it was kind of weird to see like a house full of like far leftist liberal Californian types in Florida. That little
That was wild. I was like, what? That doesn't exist. You know?
Look at a house full of Californians. It's like,
It did.
what
It
are they
was
doing in
kind of
Florida?
very not Florida-esque at all. It was very California. Like, I was like, they should have just said that we're in California because it would have made more sense.
It made way more sense. Oh, they're in California? Okay, well, that makes sense.
I can't find that episode. Literature Level, what episode was that? The one that Desire and Death, or not Death, the other one.
Might have been like the one
they're talking and then it shows what Desire looks like, or not Desire, the other one.
I forgot which one that was. I'm pretty sure it was before the Vortex stuff because Desire's like, hey, I'm gonna have a plan, and Despair's like, you're gonna fail. Just stop it. I'm surprised they haven't cast Delirium yet.
They're going to be very soon. He's looking for a new actor. I really did like all of the stuff that they did though with like the first, like that first arc was really, really cool. Like the whole, like that Magus line, the whole like his life, and like, you know, what happened to the jewel and what happened to like the items and how that chick took it. You know, I really like that. All of that kind of stuff I really did like. I thought those were really cool storylines.
And it says the main quest, like, gets all his stuff back and kind of reabsorbs them into himself. And after that, it becomes more of a meandering kind of like, okay, what's going to happen this issue? Like, okay, we're going to have a guy who lives forever. Okay, we're going to have an issue where it's about the doll's house or something. It's all kinds of stuff like that. So it can, from after that, it can go wherever, essentially.
Are we gonna see that other lady too? The one that he gave that crystal to, like the protection thing? Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen again because I just saw her while I was looking at for that other character. And
I mean, the driver.
Yeah, the driver.
I don't know because she dies in the comic. They couldn't kill her off Dee couldn't kill her off of the show because she's black.
Because she's black.
They can't kill her off. In the comic book, he kills her off like real easy. He's like, oh, okay, you're dead now. Yeah, because he's evil. He's just straight up wicked evil in the comic.
Oh my god! So he kills this chick off.
Yeah,
she's already dead. She's over.
She dies in the comic book, I believe.
But in this one, he gave her that crystal, like the protection crystal, because he was like, now I have like my ruby thing, so I don't need it anymore.
So I don't know exactly what's going to happen. They might bring her back. I don't know, but she's dead. I believe she dies in the comic book.
That's weird. Okay, well, hold on. Let me go back to this because I was trying to find that, like, the picture of freaking. You know what? Maybe I'll just Google it. Let's see. Despair, Sandman, Netflix. Hopefully someone's taking a freaking screenshot because that thing, there it is. Oh my god, should have done this sooner. It was so funny. I was like, this is me. Like if I become like this, I'll just kill myself. I thought it was a good casting. I'm not gonna lie. I thought like this was funny. This to me is funny. Oh, this is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, she just cruises up with a hook because a hook is a sigil because just hurt yourself.
She hurts herself,
and she's like a monstrous looking thing. Just kind of just pokes out her own eye somehow, some way. So there's just
she did that once in this scene. I actually didn't get it because I was like, there was a scene where she like kind of caught herself, like
she just cuts herself to make tears and stuff like that.
there
Sometimes she pops her own eyes in order to make tears. But that's her sigil. Of course, a death sigil is that Ankh thing. That her hook is her sigil. There's Destiny. We haven't seen Destiny yet either. Destiny just kind of stays about himself because Destiny is blind, and the only thing you can see is the book that he has.
Oh,
he's kind of like Dr. Manhattan in terms of like he can see the future, but he's kind of bound to it as well.
So this dude is basically like kind of like a sumo wrestling looking dude.
Yeah, it's despair. Like she's supposed to be like really fat and grotesque.
So they basically just sex swapped him and made him a fat chick instead. I'm fine with that.
But she's a girl comic book too. This is really grotesque.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, so that's not a dude?
No, it's a girl.
This is a girl?
Yeah, it's just really grotesque and ugly because despair is ugly.
Oh my god. Okay, see, if I look like this, then I'd be full of despair as well. My god. Okay. So they didn't even freaking they didn't sex swap that guy. I thought they did. I was like, thought it was like a sumo wrestling guy.
They made it look better in the show.
Yeah, they did. Like they were kind to her. Although of course they would make her white. So that's
despair, yeah.
She's despair. 200 Watt Studios for 2. Is wife swapping same as sex swapping asking for a friend? You know the answer to that. You know the answer to that. Oh my god. Literature Devil answered it. 200 Watt Studios for 2. Nina is in sweats and t-shirt, not despair. It's envy. Oh my god. It's like, one of those things is like I always thought about like when I go to the store and I see a girl in sweatpants. I don't know if she's living her best life or she's just completely given up.
It's laundry day.
Like, no. If it's laundry day, you just stay home. You don't go out in fucking sweats.
That makes sense.
Literature Devil, I think that's it because I don't have anything else I want to talk about with regards to the series. I don't have much else to say. Do you? Because if you do, please let everyone know what your final thoughts on this situation.
Overall, it's there's a master hand at work with the narrative, to the point where the storylines kind of unfold pretty well. And then because of that, the woke stuff they try to cram in there, it just seems so laughable instead of like destructive or too insulting or too offensive. Like you can if you let yourself go, you can get into the storylines, but then of course the woke stuff has to come in and say, hey, you're still watching a Netflix show. here's some diversity, like eating castor oil or biting into something sour that you thought was going to be sweet. I guess it's a really nasty part of the show, and it's like it's gross. But then you get back into it, and it kind of it takes you back in for the most part. So it is pretty good. And then she goes, "Oh, you're a dumbass, Bream." Like, oh, though, can we get back to the actual story, please?
Yeah, exactly. There's just certain things that, like, if you can get past certain things, then you'll probably get entertained. It's good in that sense. If not, then it's probably not the show for you. If you can't get past certain things, then just skip it. At least for now, until there's an ending. But yeah, thank you, Literature Devil. It was really nice talking to you, and I'm glad that you're someone that actually knows the source material, so I can bug you about it now. Be like, yo,
this comparison.
Thank you for being here tonight. It was
really glad. The three things I really enjoyed about the series is wholeheartedly was Cain and Abel, perfect. They were well done. Right from they managed to copy them right for the comic book onto the TV show. I don't see why they couldn't do that with anyone else, but they were pretty much copy paste right into the TV, from the book to the TV show. So I was appreciated.
That was really fun because it was like again, me not being familiar with the source material, I was like, I wonder if this is in it. And also, I just find it really entertaining that the guy keeps stabbing the other guy. Like, it's just like, because when I first heard Cain and Abel, and I was like, Cain and Abel, like the dudes that kill each other in the Bible, and then it just happens like over and over, and that dude comes back to life, and he just lets his brother kill him like over and over. And also that part with the gargoyle, dude, that was emotional. I was
it was
like,
really good. You barely even met him too. It's like, okay, the gargoyle exists. Oh, it's time for it to die, and it's really sad.
and dude, that was emotional. I actually got emotional in that scene. I was like, are they really gonna kill the gargoyle with? He's like a doggy because he was like saying goodbye, and it was like all like tearful, and I was like, I'm actually being affected by this. Like, how is this possible?
There's some good stuff in this show.
Yeah, that's when I was like being surprised. I was like, why is this? This is surprising. It's actually really good. It was like it's got those emotional hooks sometimes, and you're like, oh, I'm kind of invested now. I was invested in the gargoyle
that you just saw, that you just met.
Like literally a minute. Like I was like, what?
And third thing I really enjoyed was they added Mad Hetty into the comic book. I'm not really, she's in the comic book, just not very long. Like she meets John Constantine, but she has a bigger role in the side story. And Mad Hetty is just like a crazy old witch. It's kind of, but she's like a dangerous old witch. She's immortal too. She even, I think Death even mentioned like, oh, Mad Hetty is someone who doesn't really die. But like in the side story, she's like some people try to rob her. She's like the old homeless lady.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she's a
oh, that's why, because she was so weird. I was like, why does she know everything? Like, who is that lady?
She's a powerful witch, and like there's a part where like someone tries to rob her, and he goes, no, and she breaks a stick, and the guy's leg just snaps in half. It's great.
Oh,
like, she's powerful.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't realize that. That was really cool.
And there's one thing in the side story with Death. She the whole time she's trying to get Death to find like something that she lost, and then she gets it back at the end. And she goes, "Okay, time to hide you again."
Okay, what?
Like Mad Hetty, I forgot what she lost, but she loses something, and she's like, "Hey, Death, I need you to get this back for me." When Death came back to life, and then Death finds it, or she finds it on her own, or something like that. And he goes, "Oh, there you are, dearie. Well, time to hide you again."
Oh my god! So she hid it the whole time. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
That's funny. 200 Watt Studios for 5 says, seeing a hot gal in sweats be like, I wonder what sexy is she trying to hide. Okay. 200 Watt Studios, stop drinking. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. It was a fantastic time spending with you, chatting with you, and of course, Literature Devil, thank you so much for being here. Let everyone know where they can find you.
And you can find me on YouTube, Literature Devil, on YouTube. Let's go over story elements, and I quote Neil Gaiman a lot.
He's gay for Neil Gaiman,
essentially. And that's where I go. Is I explore the mechanics of storytelling and things like that. Also, I have a comic book, Dr. Alpha Miracle Child. The campaign is closed, but it's also available on Amazon on Kindle.
Ooh.
Made available there because apparently you have to have it available somewhere to qualify for an Eisner, which is like, oh, let's try that out.
Oh, okay.
Let's go try it out. I'm probably not gonna win, but I can always try. As one of my managers used to say, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
you need to definitely, and you need to send me the link for that so I can put it in the description for you for next time. Okay,
that makes sense.
But do you have a link for it now? Because I can drop it in the chat.
Yeah, let me get it real quick.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Thank you, Pulsar Echo. Thank you. I'm not sure what's going on with Simpcast. I think they had a plan for tonight. I'm not sure though. It's usually on Chrissy Mayer's channel, but I know she was at Boston. They were at the convention there. So maybe there was some traveling problems or something. Usually it's Sunday night, but I guess she's not streaming right now, so I don't know what happened.
Actually, I saw a confrontation with Ethan Ralph. I was like, what are you doing? Let's see.
Wait, what? Who's got a confrontation with Ethan Ralph?
Well, I saw her interview Ethan Ralph, and he just exploded on her for like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was that's Ethan.
Like that's why that's why he has all these beefs with everybody.
Yeah, that was wild. Okay, here is Literature Devil's book, LD's book. Y'all want to get this?
It's on Kindle. You can download it right away. And it has a main story in there and the side story where the kind of comes before it, but it's a good little file. It's about 120 pages of comic book there.
Nice. Okay, I'm also doing this as we speak, so I don't forget. I'm changing the description right now to add this link.
Oh, very much
There
appreciated.
we go. And so if you're watching this after a fact, you can click on the description down below. Sub to everybody on the panel. Thank you, George, for being here earlier and for handing out those memberships like they're, I don't know, hotcakes.
Going out of style.
Good. Yeah, like they're going out of style. Thank you. Thank you for that. Everybody who happened to be here and super chatted, thank you guys so much. And everybody who became a member, thank you. And I will see you guys next time. Tomorrow I'll be on Toxic Femininity on Midnight's Edge, so check me out on there. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Take care, everybody. Let's find a outro. I don't know which one to play. Okay, I'll just play this. Wait, I'll play Naked Tom Hiddleston for Teresa. Okay, bye, everybody.
I'm so sorry.
I'll survive.
I don't doubt it. You're an excellent specimen. I thought you were empty.
I just moved in.
I'm Charlotte.